the luminaries of the light and the luminaries of the fire. Vaya'as Elohim es shenei ha'ma'orot, da ma'or, v'da ma'or. And Elohim made the two great lights, BARESHEIS 1:16. The sun is one and the moon is the other. Because of this, the lights that ascend are called the luminaries of the light, whereas those that descend are called the luminaries of fire. These luminaries of the fire are the lower grades and rule over all the weekdays. Because of this, a blessing was recited over the candle when Shabbat ends, because at that point the luminaries of fire are given permission to rule again. And so both great lights, two great lights, both are equal, and they receive their illumination from Bina. And they are equal, one like the other. When Zerampin returns in the secret of sleep, Dormita, then Bina returns to bestow new intellectual faculties, Mochin, to Zerampin. And it's about this time the verse says, and Elohim made two great lights, meaning they're equal. One light and another light. This means the moon, Malchut, is built at night by Bina and receives its illumination then from Bina, who is called Elohim. Likewise, Zerampin as well. And so it says, one light and another light. So meaning, at night, they both receive their illumination from Bina, and then they are both called great lights. And the word me'or has a numerical value 247, Imkalel 248, hinting that both Zerampin and Nukva, the female counterpart of Malchut, are built from 248 limbs through Bina every night. And so it says, and therefore they are lights that ascend, meaning because both are holy lights. Each one is called a light, and therefore the lights of Zon receive from Bina. These lights that ascend above are given to Zon, the Kedusha, which are above these two lights, are called lights of light, Me'ore or in plural, for they are two great lights. And the lights that descend below are called lights, luminaries of fire, Me'ore Eish, meaning those sparks of light that descended in the secret of the 288 fallen sparks, Rapach Nitzozin, into the lower realm. They went into the lower realm, into the Klipat Noga, the shell of Noga, a mixed shell, which it contains good and evil, into the zone of Noga. These lights within the Klipa Noga are called lights of fire, not lights of light. And these light sparks that are rectified are given the intellectual faculties, the mochin, to zone. Those that ascend are called lights of light, including both the inner and the external back. And these back parts, the external parts, are outside, but those that descend are not yet rectified are called lights of fire. And so these that are called lights of fire are the aspect of Sephirot of the Klipa Noga, which are below holiness and rule over the weekdays. And so it says they rule all the weekdays, for Klipa Noga is called weekday, as is known. And going on, it says the fingers of man represent the most hidden of all grades and secrets of the supernal world, and are divided into front and back. The back of the fingers represent the external part, an allusion to the fingernails, As such, man may look at his fingernails as Shabbat ends, and as they shine by the candlelight and are bright from that fire that rules over the days of the week. And so it says, when Shabbat departs, meaning since the Sfirot of Noga that rule during the weekdays are called lights of fire, therefore on Motzei Shabbos we bless over the flame with the blessing, the creator of the lights of fire, Borei Meorei Ha'esh, to indicate that during Shabbat the lights of light rule. The lights of light rule. And these are the holy zone. But at the end of Shabbos, the weekday begins and the Sfirot of Noga, called the lights of fire, take over. And so it says, when Shabbat departs, because then permission is given to them to rule during the weekdays. And it says, the fingers of a person, the fingers of a man. This explains why we recite this blessing over the fingers. And so it says, the fingers of a person are the secret of the lower levels and higher mysteries. And there is a hint to the nails of the fingers. Therefore, we gaze at the nails on Motzei Shabbos because they shine from that flame and from that fire that is now given permission to rule. And so, the fingers of a man are the mysteries of the levels. This means that 10 fingers of the hand, the 10 fingers of both hands represent spiritual concepts. The 5 fingers on the right hand and 5 fingers on the left hand represent the Chasadim and Givarot. And the 5 fingers on the left hand, Givarot, are attributes of judgment or strength, and it is known that Chesed and Gevurah are called the concealed sides of the levels because they extend into the eternal aspects of the 10 Sfirot. And this is the meaning of the upper secrets, that Chesed and Gevurah are called such because the root comes from the mystery of the shoulders of Arachanpin, which is more hidden than all the other divine personas, Partsufim, and higher than them all. Secrets meaning that hidden like a mystery or secret. The upper means it is superior to all. And so it explains that there's an internal and outer aspect. And this means the fingers possess both an internal dimension and an external one, which is called the backside. Similarly, Chesed and Gevurah, which are alluded to by the fingers, have both an inner aspect and a backside. And the backs refer to the outer parts of the fingers, which are the fingernails. The fingernails are the back or outermost part of the fingers. And this is a hint to the nails. And it says, therefore, we're permitted to gaze at the fingernails on Shabbat, on Saturday night. And so, since the nails symbolize the external aspect of the backside, we're permitted to look at them on Motzei Shabbos. Even though the fingernails represent judgment on Saturday night, we especially seek to awaken mercy, more so than on other days, since Saturday night is a time when judgment has sway. Nevertheless, since the nails are the external side of the fingers, which have control during the weekdays, we are permitted to look at them. Now, these lights that ascend upward, this means that light, referring to Zerampin, which is the male aspect, which is called light, and Malchut, the feminine aspect, is also called light, just as the verse states, 2 great lights. Both aspects are referred to as light, and therefore the lights ascend upward are associated with Zerampin and holiness, are called lights of light, Me'orei or, because they are lights of day, called light, the masculine lights which dominate during the day. The illumination is considered the true light. But the lights that descend downward, which are lights of Malchut, called below, relatively below Zerampin, which is above, these lights that descend are the aspect of Malchus, and they are called lights of fire, Me'orei Ha'esh, because they are the feminine lights which dominate at night, a time of judgment, which corresponds to the element of fire. And this is why they're called lights of fire. And these lights that descend lower to lower degrees, that rule during the weekdays, it's the Sfirot, the Klipa of Noga, the feminine aspect, which are called the lights of fire. And so previously we did say that Sfirot and Malchut, kingdom, are called lights of fire. The explanation of this is that the Sfirot of Malchut in holiness, which are called lights of fire, give power to the Sfirot of Noga, who is also called lights of fire because they receive their ability to rule during the weekdays from the power of Malchut of holiness. Without drawing power from Malchut of holiness, they would not be able to rule. Therefore, even the Sfirot of Noga are called lights of fire. And that is why it says, when the Shabbat departs, we bless. That is to say, since Malchut is called lights of fire, and also the Sfirot of Noga are called the same, when Shabbat ends, the Sfirot of Noga, the lights of fire, begin to rule. We immediately recite the blessing, Borei Meorei Ha'esh. Blessed is the creator of the lights of fire, to indicate that we have no portion in the Klipa Noga, which is called the lights of fire, but rather only in the Shekinah, the divine presence, which created them and gave them power to rule during the weekdays. Our portion is only in the creator of the lights of fire, not in the lights of fire themselves. And this is why it says the fingers of man represent the most hidden of all grades. This means a person's fingers allude to the Merkavah, which consists of Michael, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Nuriel. And this represents the four fingers. The part of the fingers that has fingernails alludes to Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Nuriel of Yetzirah, the world of formation, who rule during the weekdays, and are called the back, a chor. And while the other parts of the fingers without nails represent the same four angels, but in the world of Beriah, who rule on Shabbat and are called the inner, Penimiyut. Therefore it is said they have both inner and outer, meaning the fingers have both eternal and external aspects. And so it says one is permitted to look at the fingernails on Motzei Shabbos. The reason is because the place of the fingernails represent the backside, the four angels in Yetzirah that govern during the weekdays, and for this reason we're allowed to look at them opposite the candle of Shabbat on Saturday night, to indicate that their dominion comes from the Shekinah, which is called a consuming fire. It is only the fingernail area that is considered the back, but the rest of the back of the finger is considered the inner. And that's why it says these are visible, referring to the fingernails that are seen in the firelight on Saturday night. But the inner part of the fingers, one is not permitted to look at them by the light of that flame, because the rest of the finger beyond the nail receives illumination from a higher place called Moreh Or, the lights of light, and not from the lights of fire. Only the nail area is called the back. This is explained in Parsha Vayechel. And the fingernails on the back of the fingers are the external faces that require illumination from the flame, and these are called the back. The rest of the fingers without nails are inner faces and are hidden. And so going on, the fingernails are visible, but it is not permissible to see the inner part of the fingers by this candlelight, because they shine only from above. And the inner part of the fingers is called the inner face. This is the secret of the verse, and you shall see my back, but my face you shall not be seen. Which means that a person shall not look at the inside of his fingers at the end of Shabbat, as he recites the blessing, creator of the luminaries of the fire, Borei Meorei Haesh. The phrase, and you shall see my back, refers to the external part of the fingers, which is hinted at in the fingernails, and shines as Shabbat ends. But my face shall not be seen, refers to the inside of the fingers, which cannot receive from the luminaries of the fire. The eternal part of the fingers rules on Shabbos. The external part of the fingers rules during weekdays. And so it says to gaze for the illuminate, meaning the gaze at the fingernails on Saturday night, to see and recognize that these backs receive light from the Giverot, the judgments of Malchut, which is called the flame. And from this, the husks of Noga receive power to rule during the weekdays. The idea is on Saturday night, we need to illuminate the backs of the fingers with the firelight to indicate that now the dominion belongs to those who receive from the fire. But on Shabbos, dominion belongs to those who receive the light of Or, not the light of Aish, fire. And so they're illuminated from that fire to dominate. That is the Sphirot of the Klipa of Noga, received from the fingernails, which are the external aspect of holiness, from which they derive their sustenance, enabling them to dominate the weekdays. And it said, these are seen, referring to the fingernails that are visible, and from which the klipot draw their nourishment. But the inner part of the fingers that are not visible, and the klipot cannot benefit, they cannot benefit or receive any light from them. Therefore it says, we are not permitted to look at the inner part of the fingers by the light of the candle, because the inner parts receive illumination from above, from the upper lights of Malchut, which are the Chasadim. And that's why they're called inner faces. And so it says, and you shall see my back. Meaning, we're permitted to see the back of the fingers on Shabbat, on Saturday night, but not the inner part. This is the secret itself is hinted at the verse, and you shall see my back. And so it says, you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. And this refers to the back of the fingers, which are meant to look at during Havdalah. And my face shall not be seen. A person should not look into the inside of their fingers at the time of the blessing over the fire on Motzei Shabbos. You shall see my back refers to the external face, which is hinted at in the fingernails, and my back shall not be seen. This refers to the inner side of the fingers. And the fingernails dominate during the weekday, like I have said. And so, blessed be he rules through the inner face upon his glorious throne. As it says, carrying on Shabbat day, the Holy One, blessed be he, rules alone over this inner face, sitting upon his throne of glory. All are included within him, and the dominion is his. This is why the Holy One, blessed be he, transmits calmness to all the worlds, and the holy nation, which is called one nation on earth, receives the inheritance on this day. The luminaries of the light originate from the side of the right, which is the primal light that was on the first day of the 7 days of creation. This alludes to the light that is mentioned in the verse, let there be light. On the day of Shabbos, the luminaries of the light shine alone and govern, illuminating all the worlds below Atzilut. And going back where the fingernails are visible, but it is not permissible to see the inner part of the fingers by this candlelight. The inner fingers are the 5 fingers that hold the cup on Friday night to sanctify it. We place the cup within the 5 fingers, and they surround it to symbolize that on Shabbos, the holiness of the inner fingers dominate. And Motzei Shabbos hints to now the back of the fingers, the externality rules when we say creator of the light of fire. And we look at the back of the fingers because we cannot hold the cup from the back of the fingers as we do from the inside. And on Shabbos day, the Holy One, blessed be He, rules alone over this interface. The Holy One, blessed be He, represents Zeir Anpin of Atzilut, the emanation and holiness that rules the world without being clothed in the Klipa Noga. And so it's not like during the weekdays when the zone of Atzilut rules through the clothing of Klipa Noga, which is called the weekday. The Holy One, blessed be He, rules alone upon the inner face of His glorious throne, meaning that during the weekdays, the Vavke, the lower aspects of Atzilut, rule through being clothed in 6 extremities of Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, and through Klipa Noga. But on Shabbos, zone of Atzilut rule, and through the inner garments of Beriah, which is referred to as the inner face. As is known, the inner vessel corresponds to Beriah, the middle vessel to Yetzirah, and the outer vessel of Asiyah. And going on, it says, when Shabbat is over, the luminaries of the light are hidden, and the luminaries of the fire govern the worlds, with each and every one in the place. That is, the luminaries of light rule during Shabbat, and the luminaries of fire during the weekdays. He asked, when do they rule? He replied, from the end of Shabbos until Shabbat Eve. Thus, it is necessary to receive light from that candle as Shabbos ends. And the verse continues, and the living creatures ran and returned. Yechezkel 1:1 means that the eye is not able to observe the unconcealed living creatures as they run to and from. And this refers to the lower living creatures, of which it is written, and you shall see my back. Although they are revealed, they are running to and fro. This is because the wheel, Ophel, that is stationed in their midst is Metatron, who is far greater and more important than the rest of the living creatures. He is higher than they by 500 parasangs. And so the living creatures run to and fro because the eye cannot dominate them, because they move back and forth. They are the revealed living beings. Shabbos illuminates this light in all the worlds, and due to the shining light on Shabbos, the negative forces flee from its intense brightness and clarity. And this is said that on Shabbat, the luminous sources of light shine alone and dominate. And from them all light flows downward, meaning from these luminous sources shine and dominate on Shabbos, which are aspects of Atzilut, the highest spiritual world. All the lower worlds, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah, receive illumination. And when Shabbat ends, the luminous sources are concealed and no longer revealed. They're concealed. The negative forces called fiery sources of light can dominate. Each one dominates in its own place. The fiery sources of Yetzirah dominate in the land of Israel during the weekdays, and the fiery sources of Asiyah dominate in the diaspora during the weekdays. Each one dominates its own place, unlike Shabbos, when the domination is equal in all places, since their domination begins from the conclusion of Shabbos until the next Shabbat. We need to bless the light of the lamp at the conclusion of Shabbos. And so these living beings revealed are called Ophanim, wheels, as is known that the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod are the revealed living beings in the aspect of Asiyah, that is the aspect of the wheel, which is Metatron mentioned here. And it is known that Metatron is always in the aspect of Yetzirah, and Netzach, Hod, Yesod are in the aspect of Asiyah. However, this Metatron mentioned here includes an additional Yud, which is known that the Metatron with an added Yud is the aspect of the soul, the Nefesh of Zeir Anpin, and Netzach, Hod, Yesod is the aspect of the soul. The wheels stands with them. And who is it? It is Metatron, who is greater and more precious than all the other angels. And the height is 500 parasangs. And concealed living beings are under two upper letters that are hidden, Yud and Hey, which dominate over Vav and Hey. And these are the chariots for those. And so, what is it meant by 500 parasings? And this is the Mispar Ne'alam of, well, Metatron is the numerical value of Shakai. And when you spell Shakai in full, the Malui, if you take the remaining letters from the beginning, the initial letters, so Yud, Nun, Lam, and Tav, and Yud Dalid of Shakai, the Malui, equals 500. And so going on, it says the concealed living creatures are hidden beneath the upper concealed letters Yud K of the name of Yud K Vav K, which govern Vav He of the name Yud K Vav K. The ones are a chariot for the others. That is, the letters Vav He are a chariot for the letters of Yud K. This means that they reveal their illumination as a rider is seen in his chariot. As a result, by revealing their illumination, the lower living creatures are a chariot for the upper living creatures. And that which is most concealed, which is completely unknown, is the secret of the endless light, which is hinted at by the top of the letter Yud of the name Yud K Vav K. It controls everything and rides upon them all, which means that all the grades manifest its dominion over the worlds. The living creatures of which are revealed are down below in the upper and concealed living creatures. Their illumination comes from them, and they travel according to them. In other words, the lower living creatures have no motivation of their own except for what they receive from the upper living creatures. 135. The upper living creatures who are concealed are all included in the firmament of heaven, as it is written of them, let there be luminaries in the firmament of heaven. And the verse, let there be for luminaries in the firmament of heaven, inform us that all the lights are suspended from that firmament of heaven. That is the firmament above the living creatures, about which it is written, over the heads of the living creatures was the likeness of a firmament, and the color of the terrible ice. Yechezkel 122, the primal firmament. Verse 136. From this point upward, above the primal firmament, no person can comprehend or grasp any thoughts, because they are concealed within the secret of thought. The thought of the Holy One, blessed be He, is hidden and concealed above. Nobody can conceive and understand man's thought. Even more is true is that nobody can understand anything originating in supernal thought. The actual thought of itself is all the more beyond any person's ability to grasp, more inner than thought, which is Bina, who may form any idea of such a concept. There is no understanding at all, not even to even ask a question, not to mention comprehending the answer. And so this is the conclusion